by Commissioner Prieto to approve the past meeting minutes. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? May I have a roll call on the motion to approve the minutes?
Flores? Grzelski?
Yes.
Prieto?
Yes.
Spitali?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Benez? Button?
Yes. Motion carries 5 present, 2 absent. Next item on the agenda is a report on the work study session. If the commissioners and council would allow, I'll do a brief report. Well, we went through the agenda items discussing the items that were on the agenda and no final decision was made. We did talk about the agenda format, and we talked about how we were going to fund projects not currently considered on our scoring criteria, and we took a question about the status of Alexander, which we should be able to report on later in the meeting, and I think that's about it. Anybody else want to add comments or questions or agenda items for the work study session?
No, sir.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, item 5 is funding. Megan is not here to give us an update, so we'll skip that one. Item number 6 is matters from the mayor, the council, or other departments. Anyone in the audience of those types wishing to address the board? Anyone want to address the board? Anyone want to address the board? Next item is 7, old business. Is there any old business? No old business. Next item is item 8, new and unfinished business. Item A, funding allocation. Supplemental agreement for Summer Street Design Phase 2, Willis to Indianapolis Boulevard in the amount of $317,765. Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Commissioner Prieto makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Krasinski to approve funding allocation for Summer Street Design Phase 2. Is there any discussion? I would like to point out that representatives from American Structure Point, both Mr. John Kennedy and Mr. Eric Wolverton, are present and could take any questions regarding the supplemental agreement. So the agreement is with American Structure Point. This is for Phase 2 of the Summer Street design. Phase 1 is from Columbia Avenue to Willis. That project was funded through NERC and their Federal Highway Administration funds. We recently found out that additional funding was made available in the current, in the coming fiscal year, 2023, and that since the project had been approved and awarded by NERC in 2025, we were able to move that project up to do both Phase 1 and Phase 2 at the same time. The project is 80-20 match, but the design is 100% funded by the local match. And Mr. Wolverton is at the lectern, and we'd like to add anything that I probably missed.
No, you did a great job presenting it. The only thing I would add is that, the benefit of this is that as opposed to having to construct this in 2 different phases and having it be an inconvenience to the motoring public for 2 consecutive years, we should be able to lump these together and get this constructed in one construction season. And so, yeah, it's a great opportunity.
I would just thank American Structure Point for taking the lead on this application for funding, both Phase 1 and Phase 2. This project probably never would have been funded under previous NERC scoring, and so to their credit, they helped the city make a big win in scoring this funding for a project that would have been very difficult to be funded. We anticipate more successes in the future. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like just to add that the new total is now $793,800. $820.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Sure.
So that's, it's been revised up to 723, I think you said.
93.
93. We've reviewed it in the engineering department, and it's right in line with any other federal aid sort of project. There's an environmental component that has to be done prior to really moving very far. But they have shown us typical sections so far on phase one, which will carry through to phase two, and so it's really synergistic that we get this project together with the other project. So we couldn't really be happier.
I just had a quick question. As far as timeline, what are you expecting?
It really comes down to when those federal dollars are allocated, which, as President Button mentioned, it is fiscal year 2023 where those funds are. So the project would be eligible to go to construction as soon as July of 2022.
Okay.
So at this point, we'll work with the city and the controller to figure out, because there is a 20% required match, when the city would be ready to provide that match, and we can, adjust our design schedule and letting schedule accordingly.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. Thank you, Eric. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Roll call on the motion.
Flores, Krasinski,
Yes.
Prieto,
Yes.
Spitali,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Vines, Button.
Button votes yes. Motion carries 5 present, 2 absent. Next item on the agenda is item B, funding allocation, Home and Avenue restriping, Douglas to 165th Street in the amount of $10,000. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to, go ahead, Dan.
Motion to approve by Councilman Spitali. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Krasinski to approve the funding allocation for Home and Avenue restriping. Is there any discussion?
Just to let everyone know that this is being done by Abbott Marsh Engineering.
Thank you. So this project just basically continues the successes of the striping that we've done south of 165th on Home and Avenue. I know that some residents or motoring public don't appreciate the narrowing of the traveling roadway on South Holman, but it sure has been effective, and it has become much more active bike lane for those traveling in and through the region. So we'll bring that similar striping pattern bike lane up to Douglas, which will meet well with the downtown master plan that has been considered by the city through Jeff Speck's work for downtown, and tying into Douglas, which is a project that we have on our resurfacing to connect up to the bike trails in that location. Any other discussion?
I'd just like to point out very quickly that this is for pavement marking plans, technical specs in the bid form, as well as doing some survey work and talking to resident coordination up and down the home in there.
Thank you. That was real important that we involve the residents and businesses along that corridor to make sure that we've got their interests in mind with what we're doing. Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call on the motion.
Flores, Krasinski,
Yes.
Prieto,
Yes.
Spitali,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Vines, Button.
Button votes yes. Motion carries 5 present, 2 absent. Next item on the agenda is a funding allocation geotechnical services for JF Mahoney Drive reconstruction and Florida Avenue construction design in the amount of $7,950. Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve?
Commissioner Prieto makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Krasinski to approve the geotechnical engineering services for 2 projects. Is there any discussion? This project is an expansion of the design work that was assigned at the last meeting to Nice Engineering to do the design. They're coordinating with Advanced Engineering Services of Hammond, Indiana, the city and region's premier geotechnical services consultant, who recently opened an office in Hammond. We couldn't be happier to utilize their services. And they will be doing boring work and pavement design for the two projects. Is there any other discussion? Any other discussion? Roll call on the motion.
Flores, Krasinski,
Yes.
Prieto,
Yes.
Spitali,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Vines, Button.
Button votes yes. Motion carries 5 present and 2 absent. Next item on the agenda is the Capital Improvements Board Change Order Policy. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Krasinski approves. Motions to approve. Commissioner Prieto seconds the motion. Is there any discussion?
Yes, sir, there's discussion.
Commissioner Krasinski.
I'd like to amend Table 1, which is classified as the Monetary Adjustment Approval Authority. I'd like to amend the second line in that, which says up to, city engineer and city controller, up to including, the new number is $25,000. And I'd like to also change the above number to 25,000.
Motion to amend the authority limits for the 2 line items under Table 1. Is there a second?
A second.
Commissioner Prieto seconds. Is there any discussion on the motion? I support the commissioner's suggestion. I think it's wise what is being proposed.
Just so you know, Mr. President, if and when we have to have the opportunity to come back, we can make that adjustment. So
It's a good starting point.
it is. Thank you.
Awesome. So on the amendment, is there any other discussion? Roll call on the motion to amend the policy.
Flores, Krasinski,
Yes.
Prieto,
Yes.
Spitali,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Vines, Button.
Button votes yes. Motion carries 5 present and 2 absent. Now, any other discussion on the original motion to approve as amended?
No.
Any other discussion? Roll call on the motion as amended.
Flores, Krasinski,
Yes.
Prieto,
Yes.
Spitali,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Vines, Button.
Button votes yes on the amended motion. Motion carries 5 present and 2 absent. Any other new and unfinished business?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Krasinski.
Excuse me. Sorry about that. I'd like to make a motion for the funding allocation of Snyder Avenue Storm Sewer Construction Supplemental in the amount of $65,735 and no cents, with the approval of the mayor, when the mayor approves it.
Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Spitali. Motion by Commissioner Krasinski, seconded by Councilman Spitali, to approve the funding allocation for the Schneider supplemental construction amount of the Schneider Avenue Storm Sewer in the amount of $65,735, contingent upon the mayor's approval. Is there any discussion? I would just say that we had recently opened, the Board of Public Works and Safety had recently opened the bid for this project. It was $65,735 more than the originally anticipated budgeted amount that this board had approved at the previous, or at a previous, I should say, I think it was the first meeting in June.
Yes.
And so in order to make an award on this contract Thursday, provided all the documents are available, this goes a long way to doing that, provided that Mayor McDermott does agree with the recommendation. I will say that the city controller has approved the funding allocation to this point, and so it's on the mayor's desk for his consideration. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Roll call on the motion.
Flores, Krasinski,
Yes.
Prieto,
Yes?
Spitali,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Vines, Button.
Button votes yes. Motion carries 5 present, 2 absent. Is there any other new and unfinished business? I think it might be appropriate now to hear from Mr. Gordish. So at the last meeting, Gary Dreischiff from the 6700 block of Schneider had come to this board requesting consideration of a project on Alexander that had at one time been designed but not constructed in light of the value, the cost of the project. The city of Hammond reached out to the design engineer to get an update, really. And our engineering department, Mr. Gordish, has done that. And if you could help us out with maybe a response to that request?
Yes, Eric from Structure Point, previously American Consulting, designed this, not him, but designed this project in 1998. So this is kind of a legacy project. So it was updated back in, I believe, 2014 with the design, hopefully going, never did. And now we're back here trying to get this done. A portion of it is to separate a sewer system that was in place. I believe it's on Martha. On Alexander, it goes into a combination system, then runs north, and those 2 blocks north to 65th is already separated. So everything's being dumped back into there. So if we can get this particular section out of it, we can separate the entire area. And it's approximately $730,000, and there was a portion of a new water main, I believe it was $130,000. So that could be added or reduced from the 730, whatever we so choose, but it needs to be done.
So in addition to the 730 would be $130,000 in water main work, or?
It's included in the
It's included in the
730.
Okay. Okay.
And Eric's here for any kind of questions? He took the project over from another person.
So that's construction, right? There would be,
Construction.
Is there any sort of additional cost relative to getting this project to bid status and then bidding the project?
Approximately $35,000, and depending upon who oversees the project, there would be a construction engineering project or a contract with them, and if not, there'd be probably an extra $10,000 just in case if there's any design questions, but that would be on a hourly fee. So basically, the project started 23 years ago. So it was one of my pet peeves projects, a legacy. So I've been keeping this one afloat because it really needs to be done. I mean, our alleys are better than this particular street. And those people do have legitimate issues on it.
So, you want to talk about any sort of volatility in the market that could drive the cost of this up or down?
As with anything, there is huge volatility that we've seen through some project bids that did come out. It really depends on when we bid the project, I would imagine. If we bid it later in the season for next year construction, we should get better prices, but with lead time on some light poles, it could be 6 months. And of course, PVC, it's all related, concrete prices, it's related to the COVID because everybody ramped down and they're ramping back up and everybody's starting projects up. And with the extra money, the federal money, everybody wants to do projects and of course, driving the projects cost up.
So this is south of 165th. The city has intentions to doing Kennedy Avenue, right?
Correct.
Between 169th and 165th.
Correct.
This is one block west of there. Is there, you see any difficulty in having concurrent projects proceeding at the same time?
I don't really believe so because they can come up Alexander off of 65th and bypass Kennedy Avenue. And that's a border, Kennedy's the border of the 5th and 6th, and 167th is the border, north is the 3rd, and south is the 5th district, so 3 districts come in that particular area. And that's what happened, Alexander, north of there was done, that was 3rd district. And a 5th district, we were never, everybody had an idea to do it, but it fell by the wayside.
So you're at 835, really, is where we are. It could be more. So, thank you for that. Any other
Sure.
questions for Mr. Gordish?
Yes. Back 23 years ago, in your legacy description, what was your best remembering guess of what it would cost back then?
It was probably somewhere in the 400,000, roughly, or
So-
350.
Doubled?
It doubled.
Doubled, okay.
And back in that particular time frame, when we were bidding projects, we were bidding, 1999 was our highest year. We had 65 projects called residentials. So we were bidding 8 to 10 streets in a package. And so there was a lot of work going out, and they're filling up, and we tried to bid in the time frame of off-season, so they're getting their work together for the following construction season.
Sure. All right.
So hopefully we'll get it done. I never let it die.
Thank you.
And I know nobody, I've met people on the street and so forth, they went through many different councilmen, and I understand they had different ideas in their districts. But
like to thank engineering, really. You guys, very quick turnaround with a minimal discussion and just a quick question here and there, and you all remembered. I really appreciate that as a person of this board, and we'd like to thank you and like to thank.
Sure. Really
you know,
appreciate it.
That's okay. Structure Point did a great job for us too in getting these answers very quickly. I'm sure they had it ready to give out right away. If I know John Kennedy especially, he's been waiting for 23 years.
23 years, a different engineer that went to a different place, and Eric looked at the project, and really, I think it's probably best if we go through Structure Point. It's easier to go through who the design engineer was, instead of a different engineer looking at somebody else's prints and so forth. We run into issues.
Yeah, we've done that before, and that is really kind of
It gets into a mess. We've tried it.
Okay.
But,
Thank you.
sure, if I may, one other thing.
Sure, go ahead.
We are putting together a list of different minor problems in the city. In the past, we used a French drain to try to take care of some water problems, and the
Yes.
councilman used to pay for them. And they're relatively inexpensive, and some other minor problems that we have. So we are putting together a list and probably present it to the board for funding. And it should be well under $100,000. So it helps people when there's not a sewer in this alley or so forth.
No one understand that. Either
Okay.
either that in the alley or we go back to cinders.
You remember those?
Yeah,
Or
my
chip and
niece
seal?
my niece still has some chips. Yes.
Oh, chips and seal. So But
Commissioner
anyways,
Prieto, did you have any questions about Alexander?
Yeah, Mark, I just had a quick question. Alternate 1 and alternate 2, I see the differences. As far as the water main, you got a shorter run on alternate 1. What are the differences there? Can you just fill me in streetwise and
the alternate 2 is the entire water main, whereas alternate 1, I would imagine, is just some tie-ins across the street.
You're right.
Okay,
so the entire water main on that one block of Alexander
correct.
compared to the tie-ins from off of 167th?
It would be
Martha?
tying across the street, because typically if we go across the street, we upgrade that particular area
Okay,
through the water department, and that's been a protocol for us.
okay.
But my feeling would be, if we get an 8-inch water main in there, I don't believe what size is in there now. Or, it's probably not an 8-inch. So the life expectancy of a water main, I would imagine, is 67 years, 70, 80.
Sure.
So I probably wouldn't have to worry about it working here, so.
Okay.
But we're leaving something for the future employees.
I mean, really, when it comes down to it, we need to replace the water main. We're doing that street. We're
Sure,
getting
yeah. I just wanted to see what the difference was.
60 grand more,
Yeah.
whether you do it or don't do it. I think that's a small, I mean, hopefully the prices are reasonably stable for ductile iron water main, but if it's only that much more, it seems like a real value to the,
Yeah, I agree. I just wanted to see what the difference was in it, so.
And that's what we did in the past when we had an influx of gaming funds, was upgrade the water mains. There was 4-inch water mains and so forth, and the sewers, of course. But the 4-inch water main, especially for the fire hydrants,
Right.
wasn't good, and everything else that gets
Sure,
67-year-old water mains.
sure. All right, thank you.
cool. Any other questions for Mr. Gordish?
No, just let's keep in mind, as I know Jamie's asking the question, Commissioner Prieto, that we'll make sure we talk to all the utilities that we're going to be affecting along the way. Maybe they can assist and help.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That would be great if you can assist.
Any,
the sewer department,
or sanitary as well, if we need to.
Oh, the question came up earlier about, did we get any information on, like sewer backups in the city? Did we heard anything from sanitary? Matt usually attends these meetings.
I have heard nothing.
Yeah, okay.
I had one, that was Friday last week, but that was seepage. That was the one on Goslin.
Yeah, and then we had a Howard.
A Howard.
Down on Howard, 75th.
So it's years ago, and I think some of the older people, like, not older commissioners, a person that has been working for a time with the city can remember 30 years ago when it rained, it flooded.
Yes.
And we used to get thousands of basement backups. And that's why Mayor, when we got the influx of gaming funds, we hit the sewer system, so it makes life easier for sanitary district and everything, and us and everybody involved.
Gets better every year. Thank you, Mr. Gordish.
Sure, thank you.
Any other business for this board? It's July 6th now, so our next regular meeting
19th.
would be scheduled for July 19th. with
Are there
our-
any conflicts from any other boards that might be meeting in
I
this room?
doubt, I mean,
You don't
that's
think so?
generally Plan Commission at 6, and we're out
6?
of
Oh,
here by then.
we're out of here
So,
before then.
Work study at 4, regular meeting at 5. Thank you all for coming. We are adjourned.
Motion to
Oh,
adjourn.
motion to
to adjourn.
Second?
Motion and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Now we're adjourned.
Thank you.